My 8-year marriage to Shannon used to be my proudest achievement. We built a life together, or so I thought. But over the past 6 months, something shifted. She grew distant, cold, secretive. Her phone was always face down. Messages disappeared. She came home later and later. I had a gut feeling she was planning something. I just never imagined how accurate that instinct would turn out to be. Before I dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. Trust me, you will want to stick around for how this all unfolded. I met Shannon when I was 26 years old. She worked in marketing at the same corporate building where I handled financial analysis. The connection between us felt immediate, like lightning striking on a clear day. She had this energy about her, this warmth that made every room feel smaller and more intimate. We dated for a year before I proposed at a small restaurant overlooking the bay. She cried when she said yes. I thought those were tears of joy. Our first 7 years together felt solid. We cooked together on Sunday evenings, tried new recipes we found online, laughed when things burned or turned out nothing like the pictures. Every summer, we took a road trip somewhere new. One year we drove through the mountains of Colorado. Another year we explored the coastline of Maine. We supported each other through career changes, family losses, and the everyday struggles that come with building a life. We opened joint bank accounts, bought a house together worth about $500,000, and saved nearly $300,000 for our future. I earned more than Shannon did. My position in financial management came with a senior-level salary, while her marketing income was decent, but not quite at my level. Still, we never argued about money. Everything felt like ours, not mine or hers. Then about 6 months ago, the warmth started fading. Shannon began staying late at the office more frequently. She claimed client meetings ran longer than expected, or her team needed her for urgent projects. I wanted to believe her. I tried to be supportive. I would text her asking if she needed me to save dinner, and she would respond hours later with short messages, sometimes just a thumbs-up emoji. Nothing more. The intimacy between us disappeared almost entirely. When I reached for her hand during movies, she would pull away and say she was too warm. When I suggested date nights, she said she was exhausted from work. Our bedroom became a cold space where we slept on opposite sides of the mattress backs turned to each other. I kept telling myself it was temporary stress. Every marriage goes through rough patches, right? But then came the phone situation. Shannon started taking her cell everywhere, to the bathroom, to the kitchen when she made coffee, even to the backyard when she took out the trash. If I walked into a room while she was texting, the screen would go black immediately. She became defensive when I asked simple questions about her day. She accused me of being controlling, of not trusting her, of suffocating her with my concern. I tried to give her space. I really did. I backed off, stopped asking questions, pretended everything was fine, but the knot in my stomach only tightened. Then one Tuesday evening, everything changed. Shannon was in the shower, and her phone sat on the dining table. It lit up with a notification. I was not trying to snoop. The screen was right there in front of me as I cleared dinner plates. The message preview showed a number I did not recognize. The words made my blood run cold. Cannot wait to see you this weekend. Hotel room is booked. My hands started shaking. I set down the plate I was holding before I dropped it. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I did not unlock her phone. I did not need to. That single message told me everything I needed to know, even if I was not ready to accept it. That night I barely slept. Shannon came to bed smelling like lavender body wash, her hair still damp. She fell asleep within minutes, breathing steady and peaceful. Meanwhile, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing through every conversation we had in recent months, every excuse, every late night. I wanted to shake her awake and demand answers, but something stopped me. Some instinct told me to wait to watch, to gather more information before making any move. The next week I became a detective in my own marriage. I started paying attention to details I had ignored before. I checked our shared credit card statements online. What I found made my stomach turn. charges at expensive restaurants I had never been to, hotel bookings in our own city, purchases from jewelry stores and boutique shops. When I asked Shannon about these transactions, she had explanations ready. A client dinner, a work conference, a birthday gift for her sister. Every answer came too quickly, too smoothly, like she had rehearsed them. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But the numbers did not add up. Our joint account showed business expenses that never appeared on her company reimbursement records. She claimed she traveled for work one weekend, but there were no flight charges, no rental cars, just a hotel bill from 15 miles away. That is when I made a decision that probably saved my financial life. I hired a private investigator. His name was Gary, a man in his early 50s with graying hair and tired eyes that had clearly seen too much betrayal over the years. He worked out of a small office that smelled like stale coffee and old paperwork. I felt ridiculous at first, sitting across from him explaining my suspicions. It felt like something from a movie, not my real life. But Gary just nodded like he had heard this story 1,000 times before. He probably had. It took him 1 week. Just 7 days to confirm what I already knew in my gut but was too scared to face. He handed me an envelope across his desk. Inside were photographs. Shannon and a man I recognized from her company holiday party last year. His name was Brad. He worked in her department. In the photos they were outside, a hotel, his arm around her waist. Another photo showed them kissing in a parking garage. The timestamps were from 3 different dates over the past month. I sat there holding those pictures, and something inside me went numb. The pain would come later, I knew. But in that moment I just felt cold, empty. But Gary was not finished. He slid another envelope toward me. Inside were printed emails. He had managed to access Shannon's cloud backup through some method I did not ask about and probably did not want to know. The emails were between Shannon and a divorce attorney named Patricia Nguyen. I read through them twice, then a third time, making sure I understood correctly. The first email was dated 3 months earlier. 3 months. Shannon had been planning this since before I even noticed the hotel message on her phone. She asked Patricia about asset division in divorce cases. Patricia responded with detailed explanations about community property spousal support and how Shannon could maximize her settlement. One line burned itself into my memory. Since he is the primary earner, you are entitled to at least half of all marital assets, plus potential ongoing support payments. Shannon had not just been cheating on me. She had been strategically planning to leave me and take half of everything I had worked for. The affair with Brad was not some passionate mistake. It was part of an exit strategy. She was securing her next relationship while setting up her financial parachute. I sat in Gary's office for a long time after reading those emails. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was not from heartbreak. It was from anger, from betrayal, from the realization that the woman I had loved for 8 years saw me as nothing more than a bank account. Gary cleared his throat gently. "Do you want my advice?" he asked. I nodded. "Do not confront her yet. Protect yourself first." I left his office and drove straight to see an attorney of my own. His name was Jonathan Hayes, a divorce specialist with a reputation for being ruthless when necessary. His office was nothing like Gary's. Polished wood, expensive art on the wall's floor, to ceiling windows overlooking the city. This was a man who won cases. I showed him everything. The credit card statements, the photos, the emails with Patricia. Jonathan leaned back in his leather chair and studied the documents carefully. When he finally looked up at me, his expression was serious. "If she files first, she has the advantage," he said. "You need to act now." He laid out a plan. It was not about revenge. It was about protection. Everything he suggested was completely legal, just strategic. First, I would transfer funds from our joint accounts into my personal investment account that I had opened years before we got married. That money was technically mine to move. Second, I would gift a portion of our savings to my mother. The law allowed financial gifts to family members within certain limits. This was not hiding assets. It was repositioning them. Third, I would leave just enough money in the joint account so Shannon would not notice anything unusual right away. About $50,000. Enough to seem normal, but not enough to give her the payday she was planning. The most important part was timing. I had to do all of this before Shannon filed for divorce. Once those papers were submitted, any major financial moves would look suspicious and could be reversed by the court. I had maybe a 2-week window, Jonathan estimated, based on the timeline in her emails with Patricia. For the next 14 days, I lived a double life. During the day, I executed the plan step by step. I transferred $200,000 into my personal investment account. I gave my mother another $75,000 to hold temporarily. I gathered every piece of evidence of Shannon's affair and her communications with her attorney. I documented everything with dates, times, and amounts. At night, I came home and pretended everything was normal. I sat across from Shannon at dinner. I asked about her day. I kissed her goodnight. Every single moment felt like swallowing glass. She had no idea I knew about Brad. She had no idea I had seen her emails with Patricia. She just continued her routine texting on her phone, with a slight smile, making up stories about work projects, all while planning to destroy me financially and emotionally. The worst part was not the lying. It was how easy it seemed for her. She slept peacefully every night, while I lay awake, my mind racing, my heart breaking quietly in the darkness. It happened exactly 16 days after I started moving assets. I came home from work on a Thursday evening to find Shannon sitting in our living room. She was not on her phone. She was not watching television. She was just sitting there, hands folded in her lap, waiting for me. I knew immediately what was coming. She looked up as I walked in. Her face was blank, emotionless. "We need to talk," she said. I set down my briefcase and sat across from her, maintaining the act one last time. "Okay," I said. "What is going on? I think we should get a divorce." The words hung in the air between us. She said it so casually, like she was suggesting we try a new restaurant. No emotion, no explanation, just a cold statement of fact. I forced myself to look surprised. "What? Why, Shannon? We can work through whatever is wrong." She shook her head. "We have grown apart. We are not compatible anymore. I think it is best if we end things now before we waste more time." Not once did she mention Brad. Not once did she apologize or show any remorse. She was reading from a script, and I knew exactly who had written it for her. Patricia had probably coached her on what to say, how to act, how to position herself as the reasonable party who simply wanted an amicable split. "Can we try counseling?" I asked, playing my part. "I still love you." "I have already made my decision," Shannon said. Her voice was firm now, almost irritated that I was not immediately agreeing. "I will give you time to move out. We can handle this like adults." What she meant was that she expected me to roll over, accept the divorce, and hand over half of everything without a fight. She thought I was still in the dark, still the trusting husband who believed her lies. "I need some time to process this," I told her. She nodded. "Take the weekend." But my mind is made up. That weekend, Shannon seemed almost happy. She went out Saturday afternoon and did not come back until late evening. Gary sent me photos. She had been with Brad at a downtown hotel. They were celebrating, I realized. She thought she had won. She thought her plan had worked perfectly. Cheat with Brad, divorce, the ATM husband, collect half the assets and ride off into the sunset. On Monday, we met with our attorneys. Shannon and Patricia sat on one side of the conference table. Jonathan and I sat on the other. Shannon looked confident, almost smug. She had no idea what was about to happen. Patricia opened with their demands. She wanted half the value of the house, half of all savings and investments, and ongoing spousal support based on my higher income. She slid a document across the table, outlining the proposed settlement. According to her calculations, Shannon would walk away with approximately $250,000 in liquid assets, half the house, equity, and monthly support payments for at least 3 years. Jonathan let her finish. Then he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. He slid his own document across the table. It was a bank statement for our joint account. Current balance $52,000. Shannon's face went white. "Where's the rest?" she demanded. We had almost $300,000 saved. I kept my voice calm and even. I moved my assets. Legally. "You cannot do that," Shannon nearly shouted. "That is our money." Jonathan stepped in smoothly. "Actually, my client can. The majority of those funds originated from his personal income and his premarital investment accounts. He has every right to manage his own finances. The transfers were completely legal and well within his rights." Patricia was flipping through papers, clearly caught off guard. "This changes things," she muttered. But Jonathan was not done. He pulled out the next bomb, a folder containing printed photos of Shannon and Brad. Timestamp location date. Then came the emails between Shannon and Patricia, dated 3 months before Shannon had even mentioned divorce to me. Evidence that she had been planning this, strategizing to maximize her financial gain while carrying on an affair. Shannon's face went from white to red. Her hands were shaking now,